Okay, so if you remember from the previous videos, we're finishing up the throttle body rebuild here. Now, one of the things that we did before was we took off the IAC sensor, right? Because here we're looking at an old one. Okay, if you take a look here, looking at an old one, as you can tell, when I was taking this apart, I thought, well, might as well just go ahead and replace it. And here you have a comparison side by side, old and new. So you see the difference is really significant, and well worth the investment. Again, so what we're doing is basically what the manual always calls for, is we're doing the reverse process, or the reverse procedure of what we are doing when we're building this. So one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to make sure that this gasket, now what I did do was I ordered a set here. Okay, I ordered this Acdelco throttle body gasket set. Okay, and it comes with the throttle assembly gasket, as well as the this top lid gasket, okay, for the cover, and it also comes with the IAC gasket. Okay, now one of the things that I did find was that when I ordered the idle air control valve, or the IACV, it already came with a gasket, so that's perfectly fine. We're just going to go ahead and use the same one. Now what we want to do is we want to basically insert it back in same way we took it apart. Okay, and we're just going to we're going to hand screw this in, right? It's part of the process, and it's starting to look beautiful already, isn't it? One of the things that I want you to notice is that from the previous video we had done the Berryman chem dip on this thing, and I did it a couple times. Dipped it in, took it out, dipped it in, took it out, dipped it in, took it out, and polished it a couple times while I was doing that, and you'll see right now that it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, this thing is practically new. Everything's glossy, shiny, the way it should be. Okay, you'll see everything's nice and clean. All right, and we're basically pocketing right now about 200 bucks, because between the Berryman, it was about $30 with tax. We're talking about the IAC here, another maybe 30-40. So we're in the black still. Really beats having to pay, you know, 300 plus for a new throttle body. Okay, there's nothing wrong with this. So now that we've hand tightened this piece right here, I'm going to go ahead and tighten it just like we did before. Okay, I'm going to get my wrench. I'm going to go ahead and tighten it. I'm going to go again to the right. Now I'm not going to overdo this. Okay, and hand tightening should be fine. Okay, hand tightening this should be fine. I know you're probably saying, well, what are the torque specifications for tightening this? You know, this is about fine. I mean, you don't have to go crazy with this thing. Okay, so we've got that in there. You've got the gasket. Everything's looking nice. It's looking flush. And then now we're gonna go ahead and start assembling this. One of the things I want you to keep in mind is, if you remember from the previous video on the actual teardown of this, the screws to the assembly itself, the screws had basically gone bad. If you remember, some of them broke, they were kind of brittle, they were rusted. And so what I did was I just went to a local hardware store and I purchased the replacement screws for them. They ran me about 55 cents a pop. I know it's a little expensive, but they were right around the corner, so really good hardware store, local shop had them. I just bought a set of 7, and I'm going to replace them. No big deal. Obviously I took the measurements, and I'm going to go ahead and use those. Now here's the gasket for the IAC valve assembly, and what we're going to do is, very simply, we're going to place it on here. Okay, you can see there, fits nice, just like the factory. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and assemble it here. Okay, oh, sorry about that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and mount this right on top, and everything fits nice. Okay, now these screws, what I want you to keep in mind here is that these screws have a washer, so you want to make sure that when you're putting these screws in, okay, you include the washer in there. And I'm going to first hand tighten everything. Okay, now again, if I want to get technical, I can try to tighten to specific torque, but you know, this stuff is not overkill. Now, one of the things that I will have you note is that we did have to change I did have to change the bolt head. Okay, if you notice here, we're using a hex bolt now. I don't think you can see that, but I am having to use a hex bolt because I switched them and I couldn't find the exact bolts for that. But the threading is perfect, as well as the length, so I'm perfectly happy with that. And all these here themselves, I'm gonna go ahead and assemble this here. A little bit going around in order here, a little bit more here. That's perfectly fine. I'm using here the Allen wrench, okay, perfectly fine. A little bit more, and I think I'm comfortable with that. So now you see we've got the IAC V assembly. We've got a new one on here. It's looking picture perfect, looks fantastic. Now we're just going to move on to the finishing touch, which is the lid itself here. Now if you notice, one of the things I did do while I had it out, again, I'm just a big believer when you have things out, you've taken them apart, you don't want to go back in there later. You don't want to deal with this crap later. So I went ahead and used a little bit of the engine spray enamel just to give it a little flair. You'll see as the other pieces are coming together, the reason why it's black is because I'm thinking of doing a combination on there of black plenum, some black tubes, and some runners, etc. So hey, you know what? I just decided to get a little stylish with it. Nothing wrong with that. Some of the factory stuff is not that great, you know, I mean, it's pretty much produced for the masses. So this is the opportunity you have to really customize your stuff. Okay, so we're placing this gasket here. Okay, one of the things you'll notice is that it does have a couple of I don't know what the hell these things are. You know, you've got a couple of these things here. It's going to those pegs that fit exactly on the throttle body, so you can't go wrong with that either. I'm putting in I'm tightening up the last screws in here. Again, I'm using the T20 Torx for this one. These are the original screws that came with the lid. And if you've been faithfully following this, I'm hoping it's been as good for you as it was for me. And right now, basically, I'm just going to tighten here to, you know, not too much. Again, there's not too much going on here. We don't need to go crazy here. We don't want to rip any threads. We don't want to do any damage here. Okay, and I'm just putting the finishing touches on, just tightening this up. Okay, and we'll be just about done. Okay, so we're done with this. Right now, we've got a brand new throttle. All right, nothing to sneeze at here. We've got clean, all right, clean throttle. Everything's nice and clean. And so next time, we're gonna tackle on the injection. So thanks for hanging with me, and don't forget to subscribe because we're going full throttle on this car. Best of luck to you.